I never thought I'd be pouring my heart out on Reddit, but here I am. I'm Liam, 28M, and I've always been the responsible one in my family. Growing up, money was tight. My dad worked 2 jobs, as a mechanic during the day and a security guard at night. Mom picked up shifts at the local diner whenever she could. They did everything they could to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. From a young age, I understood the value of hard work. I started mowing lawns and shoveling snow for neighbors when I was just 12, always saving half of what I earned. By 16, I was working part-time at the local grocery store, stocking shelves and bagging groceries. It wasn't glamorous, but it taught me the value of $1. My sister, Mia, 25F, had a different experience. She's always been the golden child, 3 years younger than me but light years ahead in our parents' eyes. While I was expected to contribute to household expenses, Mia was encouraged to focus on her studies and extracurricular activities. Don't get me wrong, she's smart and talented, but the disparity in how we were treated was hard to ignore. I remember one particularly painful incident when I was 17. I'd been saving up for months to buy a used car. Nothing fancy, just something to get me to work and school. The day I was planning to make the purchase, Mom asked to borrow my savings for Mia's dance competition fees. It wasn't a request I could refuse. I watched my car dreams drive away while Mia twirled in an expensive costume. Despite the challenges, I managed to put myself through community college, studying business management while working full-time. It was exhausting, but I was determined to make something of myself. Meanwhile, Mia breezed through high school, winning academic awards and securing a full-ride scholarship to a prestigious university. The day Mia left for college was bittersweet. I was proud of her achievements, but I couldn't help feeling left behind. Our parents threw her a lavish going-away party, inviting the whole extended family. I still remember Aunt Sarah's words, "Mia's going to change the world someday." And Liam? Well, he's a good boy. The pity in her eyes stung more than any insult could have. With Mia gone, I threw myself into work. I'd always had a knack for design, spending hours sketching in my free time. One day, on a whim, I turned one of my sketches into a simple beaded bracelet. A coworker saw it and asked if I could make one for her. That was the spark that ignited my business. I started small, making jewelry in my tiny apartment kitchen and selling it online. It was slow going at first, but I poured every spare minute and dollar into it. I learned about marketing, product photography, and customer service through countless late nights and YouTube tutorials. Slowly but surely, my little shop grew. 3 years after I started, I had enough saved to rent a small space in town and open a proper boutique. It was a huge risk, but it paid off. People loved the personal touch of handmade jewelry, and word spread quickly in our small community. Soon, I was able to expand into accessories and even some clothing items. Last month marked 5 years since I started my business. To celebrate, my parents suggested a big family gathering at my grandmother's house for her 80th birthday. It seemed like perfect timing. I was excited to share my success with everyone, especially those who had doubted me. The day of the party arrived, and I felt a mix of nervousness and pride as I drove to Grandma's. I brought some of my best pieces to show the family, including a special necklace I designed just for Grandma. As I walked up the driveway, I could hear laughter and chatter from the backyard. I rounded the corner, gifts in hand, and stopped short. There was Mia, holding court in the center of the lawn. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine in her designer dress, her hair and makeup flawless. But what caught everyone's eye was the massive diamond ring glittering on her left hand. Apparently, Mia had gotten engaged to some hotshot lawyer she met at university. She'd been keeping it a secret, waiting for the perfect moment to announce it. And what better moment than stealing the spotlight at Grandma's birthday? Our parents were beside themselves with joy. Mom was already talking about wedding venues, while Dad beamed with pride. The rest of the family crowded around me, oohing and awing over the ring. I stood on the outskirts, my carefully wrapped gift feeling inadequate in my hands. Eventually, Mia noticed me. "Oh, Liam," she exclaimed, air kissing my cheek. "I'm so glad you could make it. I was just telling everyone about Daniel's law firm. They do a lot of work with small businesses. Maybe they could help out with your little shop sometime." The way she said little shop, like it was a cute hobby rather than my livelihood, made my stomach churn. But I plastered on a smile and congratulated her, determined not to let her ruin the day. As the party progressed, I tried to engage with family members about my business. But every conversation inevitably turned back to Mia's engagement or her brilliant career prospects. Even my special gift for Grandma was overshadowed by the extravagant cruise tickets Mia had bought her. The final straw came during dinner. I was talking to our cousin about potentially expanding my business when Mia interrupted. She started going on about how Daniel was looking to invest in some real businesses and how she could put in a good word for me. The way she said it, like she was doing me a huge favor, made my blood boil. I excused myself and went out to the front porch, needing some air. A few minutes later, Mia came out. For a moment, I thought maybe she'd realized how hurtful she'd been. Instead, she asked if she could borrow my car. Apparently, Daniel was coming to pick her up, and she wanted to make a grand exit in something nicer than her old college car. Something in me snapped. Years of pent-up frustration came pouring out. I told her exactly what I thought of her behavior, how she'd always looked down on me, and how I was sick of being treated like the family disappointment. I brought up every instance of favoritism, every backhanded compliment, every time she'd made me feel small. Mia looked shocked, then angry. She called me jealous and small-minded, saying I'd never amount to anything if I kept this attitude. She said I should be grateful for any help she offered, given my limited prospects. Our argument got pretty heated, and soon the whole family was outside watching. Our parents tried to intervene, but I was beyond caring. I told them how their favoritism had affected me, how I'd worked hard for everything I had while Mia had everything handed to her on a silver platter. In the end, I left the party early, ignoring the calls of my stunned family members. I've been avoiding their calls and messages since then. Part of me feels guilty for ruining my grandmother's birthday, but another part feels relieved to have finally stood up for myself. Am I wrong for finally speaking up? Should I have just kept quiet and let Mia have her moment? I don't know how to move forward from here, but I know I can't go back to being the family doormat. Update 1. It's been about a month since the blow-up at my grandmother's birthday party, and a lot has happened. First off, thank you to everyone who commented and offered support. It really helped me gain perspective on the situation. After a week of radio silence, my parents reached out. They wanted to meet for coffee and talk things through. I was hesitant, but I agreed. We met at a small cafe downtown, neutral ground for what I expected to be a difficult conversation. To my surprise, they actually listened to me. Mom cried when I explained how their favoritism had made me feel all these years. I told them about the car incident from when I was 17, how it felt to watch my dreams take a backseat to me as wants. Dad was quieter, but I could see the guilt in his eyes when I recounted all the times they'd praised me as achievements while overlooking mine. They apologized for not realizing how their actions had affected me. They admitted they'd always seen Mia as needing more support, while they thought I was self-sufficient. It wasn't an excuse, but it helped me understand their perspective a bit better. Mom confessed that she'd always worried about Mia's self-esteem, so she overcompensated by praising her excessively. Dad said he saw so much of himself in me, hardworking, independent, that he assumed I didn't need as much attention. We talked for hours, dredging up old hurts and misunderstandings. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when I wanted to walk out. But we pushed through. By the end, we'd agreed to work on our relationship. They promised to make more of an effort to recognize my achievements and to be more equitable in their treatment of Mia and me. As for Mia, she hasn't spoken to me directly, but she sent a text saying she needed time to process everything. I'm okay with that. I think we both need space to reflect. From what Mom told me, Mia was pretty shaken by our confrontation. Apparently, she'd never realized how her actions had affected me. It doesn't excuse her behavior, but it's a start. The most unexpected development came from my extended family. My Aunt Sarah, the one who had dismissed me at Mia's going-away party years ago, called me a few days after the blow-up. She apologized for her past behavior and admitted she'd been wrong about me. It turns out she'd been following my business's social media and was impressed by what I'd accomplished. Sarah owns a small chain of boutiques in the city and offered to mentor me. She even suggested potentially stocking some of my products in her stores. It's a huge opportunity, and I'm excited to see where it leads. We've had a few meetings already, and her advice has been invaluable. She's helping me streamline my production process and expand my product line. I've also been focusing on self-improvement. A friend recommended a life coach, and I decided to give it a try. It's not therapy, but it's been really helpful in building my confidence and setting boundaries. We've been working on strategies to assert myself without being confrontational and to recognize my own worth independent of others' opinions. My business has been doing well too. The publicity from my aunt has brought in new customers, and I'm even hiring my first employee next week. It's a big step, but I feel ready for it. I've been putting in long hours to prepare for the expansion, but it feels good to see my hard work paying off. One of the most significant changes has been in how I view myself. For so long, I defined my worth by how my family saw me. Now, I'm learning to appreciate my own accomplishments. The other day, I caught myself smiling at my reflection, something I can't remember doing in years. I know there's still a long way to go in healing my family relationships, but for the first time in years, I feel hopeful. I'm learning that it's okay to stand up for myself and that my feelings are valid. I'm not angry anymore, just determined to create a life that makes me happy. There have been moments of doubt, times when I've wondered if I did the right thing by speaking up. But then I look at how much has changed in just a month, and I know it was necessary. It's like lancing a wound, painful, but essential for healing. As for what's next, I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm focusing on my business, my personal growth, and rebuilding my family relationships on healthier terms. It's not always easy, but it feels right. For the first time in a long time, I'm excited about the future. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I thought I was on the path to reconciliation with my family, but life had other plans. Remember how I mentioned Mia's fiancé, Daniel? Well, it turns out he wasn't the knight in shining armor she made him out to be. About a month ago, Mia showed up at my apartment in tears. Her perfect relationship had imploded spectacularly. Apparently, Daniel had been using her to climb the social ladder. He came from old money but had been cut off by his family due to some shady business dealings. He saw Mia as his ticket back into high society. When he realized our family wasn't as well connected as he thought, he broke off the engagement and left Mia high and dry. To make matters worse, Mia had quit her job to plan their lavish wedding. She was suddenly unemployed, single, and completely lost. Despite our past issues, I couldn't turn her away. I let her crash on my couch while she figured things out. Living with Mia has been interesting. At first, she was a mess. She'd cry for hours, then get angry and lash out. I almost kicked her out several times, but something always stopped me. Maybe it was seeing her vulnerable for the first time, or maybe I just didn't want to stoop to her level. It brought back memories of when we were kids. Before the favoritism and competition took over, Mia and I were actually close. I remembered how we used to build blanket forts in the living room, how she'd come to me with scraped knees for me to bandage. Somewhere along the way, we'd lost that connection. Slowly, things started to change. Mia began to help out around the apartment. She took an interest in my business, even offering to model some of my jewelry for social media. We started talking, really talking, for the first time in years. One night, over a bottle of wine, Mia broke down and apologized for everything. She admitted she'd always been jealous of my independence and drive. Her put-downs were a way to make herself feel better about her own insecurities. It wasn't an excuse, but it was a start. She told me about the pressure she'd felt to live up to our parents' expectations, how she'd always felt like she was one misstep away from disappointing them. It made me see her in a new light. We'd both been damaged by our parents' behavior, just in different ways. As for our parents, they're trying. They call both of us equally now, and they've started therapy to work on their own issues. It's a slow process, but I can see they're making an effort. Last week, they came over for dinner, something that would have been unthinkable a few months ago. It was awkward at times, but it felt like a step in the right direction. My business continues to grow. The collaboration with my aunt has been a huge success, and I'm opening a second location next month. Mia's been helping out at the shop, and she's actually pretty good at it. She has an eye for display and customer service that complements my design skills. Mia's talking about going back to school for business management. She seems excited about the prospect of building something for herself, rather than trying to live up to others' expectations. It's strange to think that my little sister might end up working for me, but in a good way. I never thought I'd say this, but this whole mess might have been the best thing to happen to our family. We're not perfect, and we still have a long way to go, but for the first time, it feels like we're all on the same team. There are still moments of tension, old habits that die hard. But we're learning to communicate better, to address issues as they come up rather than letting them fester. It's not always easy, but it feels worthwhile. As I write this, Mia's in the other room, working on a business plan for her own accessory line. I can hear her muttering to herself as she crunches numbers. It makes me smile. For the first time in years, I feel like I have my sister back. Update 3, it's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm still amazed at how much has changed. Mia has been living with me this whole time, and I have to say, it's been good for both of us. Mia has really turned things around. She enrolled in a business management course at the local community college and has been applying herself like never before. It reminds me of when we were kids and she'd get so focused on a new hobby that she'd lose track of time. Only now, instead of friendship bracelets or skateboarding, it's financial projections and marketing strategies. She's also become an integral part of my business. Her social media skills have boosted our online presence, and sales have never been better. She has a knack for engaging with customers that I never quite mastered. The other day, I overheard her on the phone with a client, smoothly handling a complaint and turning it into a repeat customer. I couldn't help but feel proud. Our relationship has improved dramatically. We still bicker sometimes, we are siblings after all, but it's playful now, not malicious. We've been unpacking years of misunderstandings and hurt feelings. It's not always easy, but it's been incredibly healing. Last week, we stayed up late looking through old family photo albums. We laughed at our awkward school pictures and cringed at our fashion choices. But we also talked about the memories behind the photos, both good and bad. It felt like we were rediscovering our shared history, but this time without the competition and resentment. Our parents have made progress too. They've been seeing a family therapist, and it's helped them understand the impact of their past behavior. They're making a conscious effort to treat us equally now. Last month, they surprised us both by investing in my business. It wasn't about the money, but the gesture meant the world to me. We've started having weekly family dinners. At first, they were awkward affairs, with stilted conversations and long silences. But gradually, we've found our rhythm. We talk about our weeks, share funny stories, and even discuss deeper topics. It's not perfect, there are still moments of tension, but it feels like we're building something real. The biggest surprise came last week. Remember my Aunt Sarah who offered to mentor me? She's planning to retire next year and has offered to sell me her chain of boutiques. It's a huge opportunity, but also a big risk. Mia and I spent days going over the numbers and discussing the pros and cons. We went back and forth on it. I was excited about the potential for growth, but worried about taking on such a big commitment. Mia was enthusiastic from the start, seeing it as a chance for us to build something together. We even had a heated argument one night, falling back into old patterns of competition. But we managed to talk it through, really listening to each other's concerns and ideas. In the end, we decided to go for it together. Mia will handle the business side of things while I focus on design and production. It's a big step, but I feel confident with her by my side. We're meeting with Sarah next week to start hammering out the details. As for my original boutique, it's thriving. We've hired 2 more employees and are looking at expanding our online presence. Mia's been instrumental in streamlining our processes and improving our customer service. It's strange to think that just a year ago, I was doing everything on my own. Looking back, I can hardly believe how much has changed. From feeling like the family failure to running a successful business with my sister, it's been quite a journey. There have been ups and downs, moments of doubt and moments of triumph. But through it all, I've learned so much about myself, my family, and what really matters. I've learned that sometimes, the worst moments in our lives can lead to the best outcomes if we're willing to be honest, vulnerable, and open to change. I've learned that it's never too late to heal old wounds and build new relationships. And I've learned that success means nothing if you don't have people to share it with. I know we'll face challenges ahead. Running a business with family isn't always easy, and we're bound to have disagreements. Our parents are still learning how to navigate their new relationship with us. And there's always the possibility that old habits could resurface. But for the first time, I feel like our family is truly united. We're not perfect, but we're trying, and that's what counts. We're learning to communicate, to support each other, and to celebrate each other's successes without feeling diminished. As I sit here writing this, I can hear Mia in the kitchen, humming as she makes dinner. Another new development. Turns out she's a pretty good cook when she puts her mind to it. Mom just texted to confirm our plans for the weekend, and Dad sent a terrible dad joke to our family group chat. It's these little moments that make me realize how far we've come. To anyone out there struggling with family issues, I want to say, it's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to demand respect and equal treatment. And it's okay if the path to healing isn't smooth. What matters is that you keep trying, keep communicating, and keep believing in the possibility of change. Thank you all for following my journey. Your support and advice have meant more than you know. Here's to new beginnings and the families we choose to build, whether they're the ones we're born into or the ones we create along the way.